My sister hated me for 10 years. And for 10 years, she despised me. But when I was caught in a magnitude 9 earthquake, just as a hotel chandelier was about to crush me, my sister threw herself in front of me. "Ethan, run. Get out of here and don't look back." The chandelier came crashing down, shattering her spine. Yet, she looked at me with a smile of relief. Mom and Dad's dying wish was for me to take care of you. I did it. If there's a next life, I hope you never appear before our family again. Someone held me back, and I could only watch, helpless, as my sister was completely buried beneath the rubble. That night, having lost my last living relative, I threw myself from the river's edge without a moment's hesitation. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I was supposed to be reunited with my family. I saw my sister, Chloe, waiting outside the police station. I walked toward her, then right past her. I called out to a girl standing behind her. "Sister." Inside the police station, a female officer looked at me, pen in hand, not wanting to miss a single detail. "You don't remember anything at all? Try to think. For example, what's your last name? Where did you live roughly? Who was in your family? You were 7 or 8 when you were taken. Logically, you should have some memory of it." I lowered my gaze and spoke slowly. "I was always getting hit there. One time I hit my head so hard I passed out. When I woke up, I couldn't remember much." The officer's expression immediately softened with sympathy and pity. She put down her pen. "It's okay. If you remember anything later, you can contact us anytime." I walked out of the station and started heading toward the temporary housing they had arranged for me. But then I saw a familiar figure hurrying toward me. Chloe. My heart skipped a beat. In my past life, Chloe only came to get me reluctantly after the police had contacted the Clark family. Why was she here so soon this time? When Chloe saw me, her eyes lit up, and she quickly closed the distance between us. I was about to say something, but she spoke first. "I'm warning you. Don't go claiming you're related to us. The Clark family already has a son." It dawned on me. So, Chloe had been reborn too. No wonder she was afraid I would go back to the family like I did last time. So she came to stop me before I could. A bitter feeling rose in my chest, but I looked up at her in feigned confusion. "Who are you? What do you mean by the Clark family?" Hearing this, Chloe's expression turned suspicious. "What kind of game are you playing now?" I just pointed to my head and said plainly, "I really don't know you. I hurt my head a while back, and I can't remember a lot of things." When she heard I'd been injured, a flicker of guilt crossed her eyes, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. "I don't care if you've really lost your memory or if you're faking it. All you need to know is that the Clark family is not the place for you." After a pause, she spoke again. "Even though we're strangers, you look pathetic. I can give you some money, even find you a place to live. It'll be enough to get you by until you're an adult, as long as you don't go spouting nonsense to the police and bothering my family." I shook my head. "Thank you, but I don't need it." Ignoring her stunned expression, I got into the waiting car. I remembered how in my past life, as Chloe lay dying, she had smiled and said she could finally be reunited with Mom, Dad, and her brother. My heart ached with a bitter sorrow. Even though she had given her life to save me, in her heart, she only had one brother, and it wasn't me. Since their family of 4 was so happy without me, then in this life, they should just go on being happy. When I got to the temporary housing, I lay in bed but couldn't sleep. Staring out the window at the pitch-black night sky, memories flooded my mind. In my past life, it was the same year that the police rescued me from a remote mountain village. I tearfully told them my parents' names and address. My heart filled with the belief that I was finally going home. But when they took me home, I found a strange boy living there. Mom and Dad awkwardly explained that after I was taken, they had been in so much pain that they adopted him. His name was Aiden. They looked at me with complicated expressions, as if I were a stranger who had suddenly barged into their lives. In contrast, they were warm and affectionate with that boy, as if he were their real son. But they used to dote on me more than anyone. I broke down, screaming hysterically. I pointed at the boy, calling him a thief who had stolen the family that should have been mine. Mom and Dad scolded me, telling me I was being unreasonable. I trembled as I cried, my voice raw as I yelled. But I suffered so much. Why does he get to live a life of comfort? Mom and Dad watched me in silence. Their eyes held a mix of pain and hesitation. To my surprise, the boy left a note that night and quietly disappeared. He wrote that he had gone back to the orphanage, that he didn't want to be the reason our family fell apart. I felt a knot of anxiety in my stomach. Mom and Dad didn't blame me. They just sighed and said they were going to the orphanage to bring him back. Chloe wanted to go with them, but they told her to stay. You stay here with your brother. He's finally back after everything he's been through. You need to take good care of him. As it turned out, they never came back. Their car crashed on the way back from picking him up. From that day on, Chloe hated my guts. She hated me for 10 long years. Thinking about it, my throat tightened and my eyes began to sting. I wiped the tears from my eyes. Now that returning to the Clark family was out of the question, I had to figure out what to do next. I wasn't even 16 yet. I needed a legal guardian. Suddenly, a name surfaced in my mind. Sarah, a frail girl who always shielded me whenever I was being beaten. In my last life, if it hadn't been for her, the family that bought me would have beaten me to death long ago. When we were punished, locked in a pigsty and shivering from the cold, she wrapped her only spare piece of clothing around me. From now on, I'm your sister. I'll protect you. We survived countless unbearable days together. But later, she was sold off to another village. When I was rescued, the police told me that the people in her village had been saved before we were. In my past life, I had wanted to look for her, but the sudden tragedy at home meant I never got the chance. This life, I decided I would find her. The next day, I went to the police station at dawn. Officers, I remember where my home is. After giving them the information, I turned to leave the station. But Chloe, who had rushed over, grabbed me by the wrist. You tricked me again. I knew you were faking it. Why are you so determined to go to the Clark family? They don't want you there. Her voice trembled as if she were suppressing immense rage. Don't you get it? I already have a brother. Mom and Dad adore him. They don't need a spare son. I shook her hand off and continued walking away without a word. My attitude infuriated Chloe, her eyes turning red. She suddenly screamed, "You were kidnapped, weren't you? Why didn't you just stay in the mountains forever?" Her hysterical outburst was exactly the same as in my last life after our parents died, when she pointed a finger in my face and screamed, "Why couldn't it have been you instead of them?" It was identical. I raised my hand and slapped her hard across the face. The sound echoed. The sharp crack of the slap silenced her for a moment. Who do you think you're talking to? I stared at her, asking her word by word. In your eyes, does someone who was kidnapped deserve to just die out there? The slap seemed to snap Chloe out of it. She stumbled back a step, a look of regret in her eyes. I'm sorry. The female officer standing nearby had finally heard enough. She stepped in front of me, frowning. "Ma'am, what is wrong with you? This young man is looking for his family. It's not your place to interfere." Chloe was silent for a long moment, then grabbed my arm with a cold expression. "You want to go home, right? Let's go." But I pulled my arm free, much to her surprise. I moved to stand behind the officer. "I'm going home, but what's that got to do with you?" "My sister's name is Sarah. She lives in the state of Sterling," I told Chloe, enunciating every word. Chloe froze, then stared at me in disbelief. "Ethan, you've gotten bold, haven't you? Since when do you have a sister named Sarah?" The officer immediately pulled me behind her protectively and turned to me. "Young man, do you know her?" I shook my head, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't know her, and my name isn't Ethan. My last name is Miller." For a moment, Chloe's face was a mask of pure shock as she stared at me. Then she seemed to understand. "You came back too, didn't you?" I kept my head down, my fingers twisting the hem of my shirt. "I don't know what you're talking about, Ethan." The hatred in Chloe's eyes was overwhelming. "Do you think playing dumb and faking amnesia can erase the fact that you're a murderer? And you even made up a fake name to trick me." She scoffed. "What? You think I'm worried? I'm telling you, Dramon." She took a step closer, her gaze filled with scorn. "Fine. Your sister's name is Sarah, right? Then go find her." She stared at me triumphantly, as if she was sure I would fall apart. "You're insane," the officer muttered, then took my hand and led me to her patrol car. "Come on, don't pay any attention to her." That's when Chloe finally panicked, running after us and banging on the car window. "Where are you going?" But all she got was a face full of exhaust fumes. After a long drive, the car finally stopped in front of the house with a beautiful garden. I was surprised. I never would have guessed Sarah's family was so well off. It suddenly gave me more confidence about my decision to find her. We went to the door and knocked. After a long wait, someone finally opened it. The woman standing in the doorway was slender with delicate features, but her skin had a sickly pallor. Wisps of hair fell across her eyes, and the sleeves of her shirt were rolled to her elbows, revealing thin wrists. She looked startled to see us. "Can I help you, Sarah? It's me, your brother." I threw myself into her arms. Her body went rigid, but she didn't push me away. "Ethan, are you insane?" Chloe suddenly appeared, rushing up the walkway. She yanked me away from Sarah and pointed an angry finger at her. "What are you doing? Do you even know who she is? You can't just throw yourself at a stranger. What if she's a bad person?" Seeing Chloe's disheveled appearance, I realized she must have followed us the whole way, just like in my last life when she secretly followed me and ended up giving her life to save mine. I looked at her with an unreadable expression. "She's my sister. What right do you have to yell at her?" Chloe was so furious she laughed. "She's your sister, Ethan. Are you blind?" I retorted word by word. "If she's not my sister, then are you?" I stared at her and saw her mouth open, the word yes almost escaping her lips, but she forced herself to stop. She shot me a glare and finally just let out a cold laugh. "You almost tricked me. I told you I'm not your sister. You don't deserve to be my brother." A self-mocking smile touched my lips. The officer finally lost her patience and cut in sharply. "You two? Which one of you is actually his sister?" The moment I had thrown myself into Sarah's arms, she had recognized me. Seeing the pleading look in my eyes, Sarah sighed and turned to the officer. "I'm his sister. Thank you for helping me find my brother." Chloe's expression was one of utter disbelief. "Fine. Just fine." She looked at me, her face grim. "I'm not forcing you to do this. This is your choice. Don't you dare regret it later." With that, she turned and walked away. Watching Chloe's retreating back, I felt an indescribable bitterness well up inside me. Wasn't this exactly what she wanted? For me to not return to the Clark family. So, why did she look so betrayed? After everyone else had gone, I whispered to Sarah, "I'm sorry for causing you so much trouble." "That was your real sister, wasn't it?" Sarah asked. "If you're just fighting with your family, you should go back once things have cooled down." I shook my head as scenes from my past life flashed through my mind. I could never go back. Just as I was about to speak, I caught sight of a pill bottle on the table that hadn't been put away. My heart sank when I read the label. Looking at her, head bowed, an expression unreadable, I grabbed Sarah's hand. "You told me once that if I ever had no home to go to, you would be my sister and take care of me forever." My voice trembled slightly. "Does that promise still stand?" Sarah was silent for a long, long time. So long, I thought time itself had stopped. Finally, she nodded. "It stands." I joyfully threw myself into her arms. "Then from this day on, you're my real sister, and I'm your only brother." I looked up at her. "We're each other's family now." "Now, Sarah, I'm starving. I haven't eaten all day." Sarah was clearly taken aback for a second. "Okay, I'll go get some groceries. What do you want to eat?" "Scrambled eggs with tomatoes would be great. And anything else is fine, really?" I said offhandedly. Sarah nodded and headed out. I took the opportunity to sweep all the pills from the table into a drawer. I pretended I hadn't seen a thing, but it wasn't long before there was a knock at the door. "How are you back so soon?" I opened the door to find Chloe standing there, her face dark. "What are you doing here?" Without a word, Chloe grabbed my hand and started pulling me out the door. "You're coming with me." I pulled my hand away. "Where are you taking me?" "Home, Ethan. There's a limit to this act. Are you really going to stay in some strange woman's house, under who knows what circumstances?" Chloe's voice suddenly sounded weary. "Since we're both back, let's just forget what happened last time. Just come home and be reasonable. Mom, Dad, and I won't treat you poorly. Just stop trying to compete with Aiden." I cut her off. "What if I said the only way I'd come home is if Aiden leaves? Would you agree to that?" The air instantly turned to ice. Chloe stared at me in disbelief, and then her expression hardened into hatred. I knew it. You really are just a malicious person. Why are you so obsessed with kicking Aiden out? Let me tell you, you can forget it. Aiden has been with mom and dad for years. In their hearts, he's as good as their real son. See, I said with a cold smile. I only suggested it as a hypothetical, and I haven't even done anything yet. Look how you react. Between me and Aiden, it was never fair from the very beginning. My voice began to shake. Did any of you ever think about how I felt? Did I ask to be kidnapped? Do you have any idea how much I suffered all those years I was gone? Why should I be the one who has to graciously accept someone else taking the love that was supposed to be mine? It was your own fault for wandering off that you got taken in the first place, Chloe blurted out. Who else is there to blame? I snapped my head up, my gaze as sharp as a knife. Are you sure I was the one who wandered off? I advanced on her step by step. Chloe, you've been lying to everyone for so long. Have you started to believe your own lies? The color drained from her face, leaving it as white as a sheet. I knew she remembered. When I was 7, Chloe insisted on taking me to play in a remote cornfield. I didn't want to go in, so she called me a coward, shook my hand off, and ran in by herself. A moment later, I heard Chloe crying for help. Even though I was terrified, I stumbled into the cornstalks to find her. And that's when I ran into the kidnappers. I only managed a few steps before I tripped and fell. Chloe, help me. I reached my hand out to her, but she just glanced at me once before running right past me, crying without ever looking back. Chloe's breathing grew ragged, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead. In our last life, you always told everyone I was taken because I was the one who insisted on playing there. I stared hard into her eyes. Do you dare say to my face right now what really happened the day I was taken? The truth is, I didn't blame Chloe. She was only 9 years old at the time, after all. For a 9-year-old facing that kind of terror, running away and lying were just instincts. But when she used that lie as a weapon against me again and again, any understanding I had for her became a joke. Chloe, you keep calling me malicious, but what about you? The reason I'm the way I am today is all thanks to you. Chloe's lips trembled, but she couldn't get a single word out. No, it wasn't like that, Ethan. I wanted to save you. I did turn back, but you were already gone. I waved my hand dismissively. It doesn't matter anymore. You saved my life at the end of our last one. We're even. Since you can't manage to treat us both fairly, then please just stop bothering me. Chloe left looking completely lost. I was about to close the door when Sarah rounded the corner carrying groceries. You're back. Yeah, just got here. Sarah turned out to be an amazing cook. It was just simple scrambled eggs with tomatoes and a vegetable soup, but I devoured it. In 2 lifetimes, this was the first time I had ever eaten a meal someone had made just for me. Back when I was held captive, besides the beatings, I had to do all the chores waiting on that family hand and foot. I only ever ate cold, spoiled leftovers. Later, when I lived with Chloe, I once cooked a huge meal for her, full of hope, only for her to flip the entire table over. Stop trying so hard to please me, she had roared, her eyes red. You got Mom, Dad, and my brother killed. I will never forgive you. After that day, no one ever cooked in that house again. I didn't realize I was crying until a tear dripped into my bowl. Sarah frantically wiped my tears away, her voice laced with panic. Is it awful? I haven't cooked for anyone in a long time. I can make you something else. I shook my head and threw my arms around her. No, it's delicious, Sarah. Could you cook for me forever? Sarah's body tensed for a moment. Then, as if making a resolution, she gently patted my back. Okay. The next day, Sarah took me to get a new ID. I changed my name to Ethan Miller. I finally had a completely new identity, and Chloe never showed up again. I figured that without me to bother them, they must be doing just fine. Those 2 years with Sarah were the warmest period of my life. Sarah and I lived like a real brother and sister. Sarah wasn't very talkative, but she never once went back on a promise she made to me. I spent those 2 years studying like crazy, and I finally got in my dream school, Northwood University. On the day she dropped me off at campus, Sarah took my acceptance letter to go get my student ID card for me. I was waiting for her in the shade of a tree when I unexpectedly saw the Clark family. They were all there, happily dropping Aiden off for his first day. I stared at them, stunned. The radiant smiles on my parents' faces were something I had never seen in the short time we spent together in my past life. Just then, Chloe spotted me. Her expression shifted instantly from surprise to something strained and unpleasant. She hurried over, pulled me behind a tree, and hissed in a low voice, "What are you doing here?" She paused as if realizing how harsh she sounded, and her tone softened. "Mom and Dad still don't know you're here. Aiden was in his senior year, and I was afraid it would affect his studies, so I haven't told him about you. Ethan, did you get the money I sent for your living expenses?" I thought back and remembered getting an anonymous transfer every month, but I always sent it back. I didn't want to get tangled up with Chloe, worried that Sarah wouldn't be able to find me. "I have to go." But Chloe blocked my path, looking conflicted. "No, Ethan, you can't go out there right now. Aiden just got into Northwood, and everyone is so happy. If you show up now, it would ruin things for you." "Is that it?" I looked at her calmly, "But I got into Northwood, too. I'm here to attend classes." "Ethan, don't joke with me." Chloe's voice was edged with anxiety. "You failed to get into community college multiple times. How could you possibly get into Northwood?" Memories from my past life flooded back. The shock of our parents' deaths, combined with years of misschooling, made studying incredibly difficult for me. I failed the college entrance exams several times. Chloe had mocked me for it countless times, saying, "You will never get into college in your entire life." What she didn't know was that in private, I never gave up. I painstakingly worked my way through the textbooks. Bit by bit, I dreamed that one day I would get into Northwood. Seeing Aiden starting to look around for her, Chloe grew anxious and started shoving me. "Just go quickly. Don't worry. I'll make it up to you in the future. I promise." She even called over a security guard. "This person isn't a student here. Get him off the campus." Just as the guard was about to grab me, a clear, cool voice suddenly cut through the air. "Stop. What do you think you're doing to my brother?" "Sarah." Seeing Sarah, I cried out in relief, leaving Chloe behind and running to her side. Chloe froze, and seeing how close I was with Sarah, her face filled with rage. She grabbed my wrist. "Ethan, what is she doing here?" "My name isn't Ethan. It's Ethan Miller. If you don't let go of me, my sister will make you regret it." "Your sister? You two have been living alone together for 2 years. Who knows what your real relationship is?" Chloe spoke without thinking and instantly seemed to regret it. But before she could finish, Sarah's hand struck her face with a sharp slap. Chloe stumbled back a few steps, a trickle of blood appearing at the corner of her mouth. She was about to strike back when Sarah pulled out my university acceptance letter along with her family certificate for fallen heroes. She spoke loudly to the gathering crowd. "My brother is a freshman at Northwood this year. Our parents died in the line of duty. Is this university going to stand by and watch my brother be harassed? Is this how you treat the orphan of a national hero?" Sarah's parents were both narcotics officers. She had told me once that she wasn't kidnapped for ransom, but was taken by her parents' enemies as an act of revenge. By the time she was finally rescued, they had already died in the line of duty. She never got to see them again. In the 2 years we lived together, she never once mentioned her parents. I was afraid of bringing up a painful subject, so we had a silent mutual understanding. I never expected that she would bring up her parents for the first time just to protect me. I felt a complex mix of emotions. Why was she so good to me? We weren't related by blood at all. The expressions of the onlookers who had just been enjoying the drama changed instantly. The security guard apologized to me profusely and then, with a stern face, moved to escort Chloe off the premises. When Chloe realized I had actually gotten into Northwood, her eyes filled with regret. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I didn't know you really got in." But just then, her parents' attention was drawn our way, and they started to walk over. She didn't have time to finish her sentence and had to leave in a hurry. "Sarah, that was amazing." I stared at Sarah, my eyes shining. "Did you see the look on their faces? They looked like they were about to bow down to you." Sarah smiled and ruffled my hair. "Learn from your big sister. Don't let people push you around." I thought that would be the end of it, but fate, it seemed, had a twisted sense of humor. When I pushed open the door to my dorm room, I saw my parents and Aiden setting up his bed. Standing behind them, Chloe's face went white. When my parents' eyes landed on my face, they both gasped. My mother pointed at me, her finger trembling. You're. My name is Ethan Miller. I cut her off, linking my arm with Sarah's. This is my sister. A look of disappointment crossed my parents' faces. Even as they were leaving, my mother kept looking back, her eyes filled with a longing reluctance. Chloe tried to speak to me, but Aiden pushed her out of the room. Chloe, I've got this. You and Mom and Dad should go. Don't keep me from getting to know my new roommate. After Chloe left, Aiden cheerfully insisted on taking me to buy some dorm supplies. I couldn't argue with him, so I agreed. As we walked down a deserted, tree-lined path, Aiden suddenly let go of my arm, his friendly smile vanishing in an instant. Should I call you Ethan Miller or Ethan Clark? He tilted his head, studying me with a cold gaze. Do you really think you can replace me? I looked at Aiden in surprise. I never realized he knew about me all along. Chloe promised me a long time ago, he said, lifting his chin, his eyes full of smug confidence. The Clark family will only ever have one son, and that's me. I was silent. Chloe really did adore him, telling him something like that. Aiden looked at me, his expression resentful. All these years since I was adopted, I've worked so hard to please them. I've done so much just to get Mom, Dad, and Chloe to accept me. My birth parents didn't want me. I couldn't do anything about that. But I will not just hand this family over to you, even if you are their biological son. Looking at his guarded expression, I suddenly realized I was supposed to hate him. I should hate him for taking my place, for enjoying the life that should have been mine. But all I could picture was the horrific car crash from my past life that took his life along with our parents. Don't worry, I said softly. I'm not going back to the Clark family. Aiden froze, his eyes filled with confusion. Why? Why not? The memory of our parents' dying wish for Chloe to take care of me flashed in my mind. The heavy image of Chloe sacrificing herself to save me in the earthquake came to me. Then suddenly, I thought of Sarah's face because I already have a family that is incredibly important to me. Just like you cherish our parents and Chloe, I can't bear the thought of losing her. Aiden didn't seem to fully understand, but the hostility in his eyes slowly faded. You're not like Chloe said you were, he mumbled under his breath. I just smiled, not bothering to ask what Chloe had told him about me. None of it mattered anymore. In the months that followed, I threw myself into my studies. My thesis was accepted by a top journal. I led my team to victory in an international programming competition, and I graduated at the top of my class with a national scholarship. The boy who had once hit rock bottom was now shining brightly again. But that peaceful life was eventually shattered. One day, my parents stopped me on campus, their eyes red. We did a DNA test. Ethan, you're our son. Please come home with us. Chloe stood beside them, her face alight with hopeful expectation. I told them everything that you got into Northwood and how well you've been doing. Mom and Dad are so proud of you. I'm sorry. I took a step back, but I can't go home with you. I'm an adult now. I can make my own decisions. Before my parents could react, Chloe stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. You're refusing. Why? You used to want this more than anything. I gave a small, mirthless smile. I thought I made myself clear before. I met her gaze calmly. This time, I never had any intention of returning to the Clark family. I'm Ethan Miller now. Your son, your brother, is Aiden, not me. The color slowly drained from Chloe's face. My mother suddenly threw her arms around me, her tears soaking my shoulder. Ethan, all those years you're gone, I thought about you every single day. How can you not acknowledge me as your mother? In my peripheral vision, I saw Aiden standing to the side, biting his lip with a desolate expression. If I came back, I asked quietly, what would happen, Aiden? I looked directly into my mother's eyes. Ethan, I promise I'll make it up to you. I know you suffered so much out there. When you come home, we'll give you everything you missed. Your father's company shares the house. It will all be yours. Seeing that I remained unmoved, my mother glanced at Aiden with a pained expression, then steeled herself. I spoke with Chloe. If you insist that Aiden has to leave, then we'll send him away. He's an adult now anyway. I'm sure he'll understand. The blood drained from Aiden's face as he stared at Chloe and our parents in disbelief. Chloe just kept her head down, unable to meet his gaze. She only looked at me, her eyes pleading. Ethan, after what you said to me last time, I took it to heart. A few days ago, I went with Mom and Dad to the mountain village where you were taken. I finally understand how hard your life has been, how much you've overcome to get here. I know I was blind before. You're my brother. Please just give me a chance to make up for my mistakes. Just then, my father, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Ethan, your mother and sister are right. As long as you come home, you can ask for anything. We can't let such an outstanding son of ours remain an outsider. I understood immediately. In my last life, I came home as an uneducated boy from the mountains, while Aiden was the son they had raised for nearly a decade. But in this life, the value I had demonstrated far surpassed Aiden's. I looked at Chloe. You're still the same. You only feel regret after you've already lost something. Then I looked at my parents. I'm doing fine now, and I have no desire to return to the Clark family. I took another step back. Please stop interfering in my and my sister's life. And one more thing, I said, glancing at the devastated Aiden. He loves you all very much. Don't make him prove his love for you by hurting someone else the way you try to make me. It's a hollow gesture. And my words, Chloe's head snapped up, her eyes filled with regret. But my parents exchanged a sudden glance, and my mother spoke hesitantly. But Sarah already agreed. She promised us she would let you come back to the Clark family. My mind went blank. Ignoring the calls of the Clark family, I turned and ran. I bought a ticket for the next train home. When I pushed open the door, the sight that greeted me made my heart sink. The house, once so full of life, was now spotlessly clean. It was empty, as if no one had ever lived there at all. Sarah, my voice echoed through the empty rooms. Tears blurred my vision. I sank to the floor and cried like an abandoned child. Sarah, you liar. You promised we'd be family forever. Ethan, the voice made me snap my head up. Sarah was standing in the doorway, her frail figure looking as if it might blow away. I ran to her and held her tight, terrified that she would disappear if I let go. Where are you going? You can't leave me. Why are you trying to send me away? She gently patted my back. Isn't it good to go home? I can see your parents love you very much. They can give you so much more than I can. But they're not you. I looked up at her, tears streaming down my face. They already have their own life, and I only have you. Sarah was silent for a long time. So long, I was sure she was going to refuse. But finally she whispered, Okay, I won't leave. That night, she cooked a huge feast. I chatted on and on about funny stories from school. Your little brother is doing great in his classes now. I'm planning to study abroad my junior year on a full scholarship, so it won't cost you a dime. I'm even going to apply to have a family member come with me, so I can take you along. You always used to tell me you wanted to travel abroad. Remember? Sarah listened quietly the whole time, a faint smile playing on her lips. I was so lost in my happiness that I didn't notice her face growing paler and paler. I realized Sarah hadn't said anything in a long time. Sarah, I saw that she was slumped over the table. Are you that tired? Don't sleep here. You'll catch a cold. I went over to help her to her room. That's when a shocking splash of crimson caught my eye. Blood was trickling from the corner of Sarah's mouth, staining the tabletop in a small, bright red pool. I stared at the medical report. End-stage heart failure. My fingers trembled uncontrollably as the doctor explained, flipping through a thick file of her medical records. She has a congenital heart condition which was made worse by an unknown substance her kidnappers injected her with out of spite. It's a miracle she's lived this long. It was only then that I understood why Sarah had grown so thin, why her face was always so pale. I suddenly understood why she had never tried to find me in my past life. In that timeline, she had probably passed away long ago. Sarah remained in a coma. I begged everyone I could think of, asking if there was any way to save her. The only option was a heart transplant, but finding a suitable donor was difficult, and finding a specialist willing to perform such a risky surgery was even harder. Until one day, Sarah finally opened her eyes, my eyes brimming with tears. I asked her, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" She gave a weak smile. "It's incurable. Telling you would have only made you worry." "What about me?" My voice broke. "Did you ever stop to think what would happen to me?" Sarah stared at the ceiling, silent for a long time. Finally, she said softly, "Ethan, I've already made arrangements for your future. Even without me, you'll be okay. Don't worry. I've written a will. I don't want your arrangements. You'd rather prepare for the worst than try to fight. Why does everyone always make decisions for me without asking? Chloe was like that, and now Sarah was doing the same thing. It would be easy for you to just die and be done with it all. But have you ever thought about how much pain I'd be in? I was sobbing uncontrollably, clutching her hand, my eyes begging her, please just try again, okay? For my sake, please try to live. I've already found out that the top heart transplant specialist in the country is in town. As soon as we find a matching heart, you can have the surgery. You can get better. I rambled, my words tumbling over each other until a gentle smile spread across Sarah's pale face. Okay, let's try. Just then, the attending physician burst into the room, his expression one of pure excitement. We found one. We found a suitable donor heart. We even found a surgeon for Sarah. It was Aiden's university mentor. He was the one who had pulled the strings to make it happen. I was so grateful. I didn't know how to thank him, but Aiden just shook his head. You don't have to thank me. I just did what I felt was right. But on the eve of the surgery, Chloe suddenly appeared at the hospital, looking at me with a complicated expression. I'm sorry for everything that happened before. I was wrong. Please stop being angry with the family. Mom and Dad miss you so much. After this is all over with Sarah, will you come home? I shook my head. I told you my home is with the Millers. Ethan, do you really need to cling to that Sarah girl? I ignored her. Is that all you came here to say? If you're done, I'm going back to her room. My sister is waiting for me. Sister, her eyes were red and her voice was hoarse. You wait on her hand and foot every day. What is so great about her? I said coldly, this has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with me. Chloe sneered. Do you have any idea how much money our family spent on this? How many strings we had to pull? The success rate for this surgery is incredibly low. All that money is just going down the drain. She grew more agitated as she spoke. Besides, with her condition, even if this surgery works, how many more years could she possibly have? The sound was sharp. I slapped her hard across the face. Chloe froze, touching her cheek in disbelief. You hit me for her? Her voice trembled. Ethan, let's get one thing straight. I am your real sister. What is that sickly girl to you? In my heart, Sarah is my sister, I said, enunciating every word. I will pay you back every single cent, but no one is going to stop me from saving her. With that, I turned and walked away. Behind me, I could hear Chloe's devastated screams. Aiden looked at Chloe, who had collapsed to her knees, with a complicated expression. Chloe, did it ever occur to you that you deserve that? You obviously want to fix things with him. So why do you keep saying things like that? And you won't even let me tell him that the surgeon isn't my mentor. That was you who knelt for 3 days and 3 nights, begging him to come. As they wheeled Sarah into the operating room, I held her hand tightly. Ethan, she said softly, I really want to live now. She was paler than ever, but her eyes were incredibly bright. I want to spend many, many more years with you. I nodded furiously, my tears splashing onto the back of her hand. You will. I know you will. The light above the operating room door flicked on. I stood outside the doors, my hands clasped in prayer. I prayed for a miracle, and for a moment, it seemed like one had. A nurse came out with good news. The initial procedure was a success. Her vitals are stable. The hardest part is over now. We're just waiting to perform the transplant. I almost wept with joy, already picturing Sarah healthy and recovered. But after that, the wait became agonizingly long. The lights stayed on, but there was no more news until finally the lead surgeon emerged, his face a mask of exhaustion and regret. Doctor, what about my sister? He looked at me, sighed. I shot to my feet, my voice trembling. Did something go wrong with the transplant? Was there a rejection? I've read about it. If there's a rejection, there are other procedures you could try. The doctor shook his head, cutting me off. A few moments ago, the donor's family rescinded their consent. What do you mean? I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. Rescinded? How can they do that now? Didn't they already sign the papers? I grabbed the doctor's arm, my control snapping, my nails digging into his skin. How could you let this happen? The surgery has already started. They've already prepared her for the new heart. How can they just back out now? The Clark family rushed over. Chloe grabbed me. "Ethan, calm down," the doctor explained helplessly. "The donor did sign the consent forms before he passed, but his family has changed their minds. They believe removing the organ will affect the deceased in the afterlife." "I'm sorry." "The hospital has to respect the family's wishes." I was shaking so hard I couldn't form a single word. "You should go see her," the doctor said softly. The room was deathly quiet. Sarah lay peacefully on the bed, a white sheet drawn up to her chest. With a trembling hand, I lifted a corner of the sheet. A long, raw incision stretched across her chest. Inside, there was nothing. Her breathing was still even, her expression peaceful, as if she were only sleeping. But I knew she would never wake up again. She would never call my name again. She would never again be waiting for me when I came home. But she had wanted to live. The first time I saw Sarah in her house, I knew she didn't want to live. The pills on her table were antidepressants next to a bottle of sleeping pills that was already half empty. So, I used our promise to keep her here. I told her, "Sarah, you have to live. Otherwise, I won't have a family anymore." She promised, but in the end, I couldn't save her. I leaned over and held her body as it grew cold, my tears soaking the white sheets. "Liar," I choked out, my forehead resting on her shoulder. "You promised we'd be family forever." It was raining lightly on the day of the funeral. My parents, Chloe, and Aiden were all there. A sea of black umbrellas dotted the cemetery. My mother, her eyes red, handed me an envelope. "Sarah gave this to us the first time we met." I opened it. Inside was a will. Sarah had left me everything her parents had left her, all their savings and property. She told us she wanted you to have the freedom to choose if you wanted to come home with us. She asked us to treat you well. And if you didn't, she said this money would be enough for you to live a good life on your own. My mother's voice was thick with emotion. "Ethan, you found a wonderful sister. She deserved all the love you gave her." Chloe stood nearby, rain streaking down her face, making it impossible to tell if she was crying. She suddenly stepped forward, her voice choked with tears. "I'm sorry. All these years, I took all of my anger out on you." Her nails dug into her palms. "But I never stopped to think that you were a victim, too. In my heart, you were always my little brother. I was the one who failed you, who made you suffer so much, Sarah." She did a better job than I ever could. I didn't answer. The wind blew the rain across the photo on Sarah's headstone. Her expression was gentle, as if she were still watching over me. Could I forgive them? I didn't know, but I knew that some wounds can't be healed with a simple apology. In the end, I took the money Sarah left me and went abroad for my graduate studies. As I was leaving at the airport, Aiden secretly slipped me a piece of paper with his and our parents' contact information. "Brother, if you ever get tired, remember to come home. We'll all be waiting for you." I smiled, tucked the note into my pocket, and turned to walk through security. As the plane climbed into the sky, I gazed out at the sea of clouds and gently touched the locket I wore around my neck. Inside was a small photo of me and Sarah. "Sarah, thank you for showing me that I was loved all along. This time I'll live a good life for both of us."